When did y'all find out that your dad was sick?
Would have been in late February of early March 16.
So it was
It was quick.
quick.
He was actually, I had bought a 69 Corvette that needed restoration. I actually bought it from a guy that worked at Paragon, which was my dad's place. And we were going to kind of do it ourselves. So I was up there all winter in Michigan in 15 to 16. And going up to Paragon every day, working on whatever I wanted to on the car, sandblasting, sanding the body, fiberglass, whatever needed to be done, shipping gauges out. And so I left, go racing for the year, right? Head down to Daytona, and the car had gotten to the point where we had a shop up there that we had raced out of. We weren't really racing out of it anymore. And my dad's like, well, I'll work on it with another guy from Paragon. Just I'll have him keep hours, and you can pay him, on the hours he works with me. And so he was up there working, and one day he was sanding, and all of a sudden he couldn't move his right arm anymore. And so he went to the hospital, went to the doctor, and they were like, well, we don't really know what's going on, like it's a pinched nerve. Did all the scans, CT scans, everything, and they're like, you have stage 4 melanoma. It's spread to your lungs, to your brain. I mean,
right away.
There's not much we can do here.
You found this out in...
It was before Fontana that year.
But from the moment he goes to the doctor...
This was all within like a day or two.
Oh, my gosh.
So I knew he went to the doctor. My mom had got a hold of me. And I knew something bad was coming because the day that she called me, like as I was answering the phone, I was living in a townhouse, my door opens. There was a girl named Stephanie was working for me at the time. She just comes in unannounced, and I'm like, this ain't good, right? Like, why is this all happening at the same time? They tell me everything that's going on, obviously horrible moment. And then, 2.5 months later, he was gone.
So how old were you?
16, I was 19.
19 years
old. I was
old.
Turning 20 that year, yeah.
And your dad and you were very close.
Oh, best friend.
Like
my best friend by far.
So what were those couple months like? What did
Disoriented.
Yep. So how often did you see him?
Oh, as much as I could.
Yeah.
I was he was really sick, right? Immediately he went and did treatment, radiation, chemo, some immunotherapy stuff, as much as he could do. I mean, he was trying to fight it.
Yep.
As much as a losing battle as it was going to be. I was pretty much traveling from the track back to Michigan every week.
So you're in the middle of the season.
Yep. Early, middle, yep.
You're gone. But trying to get back, you're trying to race, you're trying to stay focused.
Yeah. We had not said anything in public about anything. And we went to Bristol, which was, I guess, in April, right?
Yeah.
Early, mid-April that year. And we won the race. My grandma was down there with us. I don't know why. It was just my grandma there for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But, going Victory Lane, phone rings. It's my dad, right? My mom calling me. And I'm just breaking down Victory Lane, and people are just looking at me like, what is going on? And I couldn't keep it together for Victory Lane and stuff. And so basically they come to me, they're like, you're going to have to say something. Like, you're on the phone breaking down. I mean, you're not that guy, right? You're not, you've won races before. You've never had any kind of super emotional time. So, announced in the media center, and I wasn't very comfortable sharing it. Because I knew my dad didn't want to, he shut off a little bit from friends and other people.
That's interesting to me. I want to be delicate with this, but is it why is that, what is that a reaction to? Like, why would he not?
I think it's a bit of how family is. Our family, right? Very private.
You guys are pretty.
He was, prideful.
Yeah.
Didn't want to seem weak, and he was a strong dude, right? I mean, he was pretty tough.
Yeah.
Just wasn't that guy. Like, never missed a day of work. I saw him miss 5 days of work, and they were all consecutive my whole life because he had the swine flu. Like, he was gonna die. They're like, you can't go to work, man. Like, you need to lay up. And so this happens, and it's like, well, now you can't do anything. Yeah, like, I mean, obviously he felt terrible. You know, he's sick, couldn't go. Barely. He tried to go to work for a while, eventually couldn't go anymore. So that's why I just, you know, I didn't want to share it. I didn't feel like I wanted to share his personal information.
How are you, knowing as things got more and more severe, how are you able to, I mean, God, man, I would have been tempted just to tell Joe that I was going to stay home for a while.
It was tough. You know, I knew, like I said, my dad was a tough guy, man. Like, I knew he didn't want me to stop racing.
Yeah.
And part of it for me was an escape. You know, at least being at the track wasn't easy, you know, but as soon as I could at least get in the race car, I could still focus and race. And I felt like I was still I was on my game. You know, I was still winning races. I won 2 races while he was really, really sick. And so it at least gave me, 2 hours of peace. Like, I don't have to think about this for 2 hours of my week.
It's amazing how being in a race car can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anybody's hobby, right? If you're a motorcycle guy, you hop on your motorcycle.
Yeah.
Just a couple hours peace. So, I mean, yeah, they came to me, though. It wasn't out of, selfishness from them at all. They came to me and said, look, if you need to ever take a week off, you want to sit out, we have no issue with that. No issue at all. We'll find somebody else. It's not a problem. And it'll be ready when you want to come back. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, it all went quick. I was there for his last day. I made it home. I got to say bye, whatever, everything. And the crazy part was we were racing at Michigan that week. So that did help a lot with everything.
I had a similar experience with my mom just recently, and I think, if I can remember correctly, it was like from the time she passed, I think our last memorable conversations were weeks before that, because she was so sick at the end that we really weren't able to communicate with her. But do you feel one of the things that, I kind of would love to have had some more talks with my mom, because I don't think I appreciated just how little time we had. I didn't realize that she was not going to be able to have communication with me. And so the last couple of weeks, I was sitting there going, man, I really
wish you would have
been able to say more, guy. And with my dad, I unconsciously got to do that. I did this thing with him where I told him about how I felt about him and didn't know that he was going to pass. But are you in a good place with, I guess, how you left it with your dad?
I was.
Yeah.
I sat every day and had lunch with him, because that was usually one of his better parts of the day. Before he got really sick, like you said, last couple of weeks were the same. There was spurts there, moments where he would kind of come to, but a little bit off. But one of the later, I could tell things were getting rough, and I was sitting having lunch with him, and we were talking back and forth, and had a moment where he was looking at me. I'm like, he's locked in right now, and I just thanked him for being such a good dad. Mm-hmm. That's all I had to say, right? And he kind of laughed, and he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I just want to thank you, man. You've been the best dad, and it was true. He really was.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's powerful stuff. I appreciate you sharing that. How when your dad passes away, and you've lost that leadership and that best friend. I watched you go through that, and I think a lot of people in the industry so badly wanted to put their arm around you and do whatever they could to help you keep it together. You did, because you're here. Who were some of the people that showed up in that time to keep you, steady?
There was a lot of support, to be honest. It wasn't necessarily one guy. I had a ton of people reach out. Some I never embraced, in their support. I honestly kept it to pretty close friends and family, people I just grew up with, people that knew my dad, knew me all along the way. And I don't know, man. It was just it was a real period of, finding yourself. And that sounds cliche and kind of goofy, right? Yeah. But it's true. And I read Matthew McConaughey's book about a year ago. He talks about losing his dad in there at a young age. And he's like, you all of a sudden you've lost the law above law. And it's true. It's like that, my dad, there was choices I made and things I did because I wanted to make him happy and keep him happy. And I knew if I did or made certain choices, it would upset him. And all of a sudden that's gone. So it's like, now you're truly on your own, right? You can do whatever you want.
Yep.
What do you do?
Yeah. I tried to explain that to people. So, when my dad passed away, I felt this weird sense of being freed.
That's so weird you say that.
Yeah. And I've hesitated.
And it's not a negative thing.
No.
It's not. I've never said that to people either because I think they'll take it negatively.
I know. I've hesitated to share that because I don't want people to think that I was happy, that I was freed from some bind.
Yeah.
It was just like as a child and with a living parent, you're fenced. You're in this. You've got the bumpers, right?
Yeah.
They're the guiding rule to every day, and then they're going.
A lot of the choices you make are because of them
and
their
when
influence.
And then that fence is gone, and you're looking around. And you're like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Where's the fence? Where's the guiding? Where's the bumpers? Where's all this stuff that has helped me sort of make?
Yeah. And that was at a time I was having to make major decisions in my life.
Yes. No kidding.
Career-wise.
Who helped you?
Financially. On the career side, it would be Alan Miller. Alan Miller and Michael Bill. They were the guys that helped lead me along, keep me knowing what to do. Because really before that, my dad handled all that, right? I didn't ask about it. I was like, hey, he's got it. If I got a question, I'll ask.
Yeah.
But I never had to inquire about what was going on. And people didn't even come to me for issues or questions. I remember we were having some issues with JGR and Xfinity early on. Some things that just weren't the way we liked them, And my dad and I sat down, talked about it. He had a legal pad, just 2 pages full of things he didn't like, things that were wrong, things that needed to be better. He called Coach, said, I want to go to breakfast. Sat down, went to breakfast. He came back, said, well, how'd it go? And he's like, I got through half my first page. He cut me off and said, things will be better. And things were better. But I wasn't that guy at that time at all. There's no way I could have done that.
No.
And he was the only guy in my life that was making those kind of things happen.
Yeah. You went through a couple of negotiations on your contract, even your first Cup contract, I think, where watching you, I could sense that you were not overwhelmed so much, but you seem to have, being a Cup driver in that first, 5-year period it takes every minute of your day to give it everything you got to be able to get going and progress and get better and better. Yet you're having to handle, even though you have people helping, you still have that mental pressure and stress and knowledge of the contract and all the workings that you really don't need on your mind.
Yeah.
I could see it, man, when you were walking around. I'm like, golly, man. He is 22, 23 years old, whatever it was, and having to carry the weight of a 35 or 40-year-old man.
Most people get to enjoy their dad for most of their life, right? And my dad never even had to lose his. I mean, my dad's still alive, And it's like, man, I was just like hurt that I was 19 and I was having to go through it, and I was like, it's just not right. And then you're going in, and it's like, well, now you're going Cup racing. You're still trying to do what you want to do, and 100% it was my dream to race Cup, but it was a shared dream, right? It was like we were on this journey together. And my dad never even got to see me, run he got to see me run some cup races, but he never got to go to the Daytona 500 with me as a rookie driver, stand on pit road with all the pomp and circumstance and enjoy that moment. And that's a defining moment in a driver's career, right? I think. And so that was hurtful to me, upsetting. But yeah, it was just a big adjustment. I was having to take on a huge role that I wasn't prepared to take on, just because I didn't think I'd have to for a long time. I looked at like Jeff Gordon and his stepdad John, and I'm like, man, my dad can do the same thing my whole career. He can run everything. He can be my business manager.
Yeah.
And I just had totally lost that opportunity in plan.
Did you feel lost?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't, we talked earlier about not putting in the work in racing and in the Cup career, and sure, some of that was from how easy it came early on. Some of it, too, was from that. Didn't care enough about it at that point, because I was like, I'm still racing and I still love it, but it's just different.
Things change, right? Like when you sort of miss that steering mechanism or the driving mechanism, it's not to say that you don't want to be there, but it means something different, right?
It was funny, like growing up, if I was having a tough time racing, we were struggling or something, like I didn't go to another driver and be like, hey, this is what's going on, I need help with this. I go to my dad. He wasn't even a racer. He'd never raced in his life.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I'm struggling. What do you think I need to do? And he had an answer.
Yeah.
And that may have been, hey, go talk to this guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, go talk to this driver or this guy. Maybe ask him. But I don't know. It's like a mental block. Like, maybe I did know the answer in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't get there without having that pathway.
I think that's completely fair and honest, and I don't know that's ever can be replaced, right? I mean, like,
No.
It's just a matter of just coming to terms with it and knowing that I'm not even going to try to replace that. I mean, like, you got to figure out how to navigate without that beacon, right?
There's never. This has been almost going on 7. It'll be 7 years next year that I lost my dad, and there's not been anybody that's replaced that.
If you like that conversation with Erik Jones, you ought to listen to the entire podcast. The Dale Jr. Download. It's available on all major podcast platforms.